And that's the monuments, but where are the steps on the way?
I think that some of the steps on the way are fairly clear. I mean, it's interesting if you look at the record of the last 6 million years. Human beings, our ancestral humans, not anatomically modern humans, but ancestral humans, created the first stone tools, as far as we know, around 2.5 million years ago. They're very simple. It's called the Aldebaran tool tradition. They're extremely simple, and once they've been developed, they don't change them for the best part of 1 million years. They just carry on reproducing the same tool set, which tells us that ideas are being transmitted culturally, for sure, but it tells us that nobody is thinking outside the box or doing anything in the way of innovation. There is literally no innovation at all in human tool culture for 1 million years. And when a slight innovation, the Acheulean tool tradition, is introduced, that sticks for more than 1 million years as well, with very little innovation. So it's very true to say that in the first 2 million years or so of the human story, see, we go back again. I have to rely on the accepted picture, and when I say that, let's accept that the accepted picture could be wrong. But the last common ancestor with the chimpanzee is about 6 million years ago. So and that's when us, Homo, the genus Homo, starts to go its own way. 6 million years ago, down to 2.5 million years ago, there's no record at all of any creation of technology. Absolutely none. Except for some strange anomalies which are called out-of-place artifacts. Michael Cremo, a friend of mine, has written extensively about these in Forbidden Archaeology. But if we go with the mainstream picture, that's the view. 4 million years of zilch. Then the first stone tools, then 2 million years of zero innovation. And then we get, not when we become anatomically modern, not 195,000 years ago, the first glimmers of symbolic consciousness occur 110 to 90,000 years ago, when we get the first symbolic artifacts being produced. For example, shell bead necklaces. When our creature is making necklaces out of shell beads, adorning himself or herself, this is a symbolic statement. We can say that some kind of symbolism has dawned. But it's very sketchy until you get to about 40,000 years ago. And that's the time, as I've often said, when it seems that a light has been switched on in the human brain all over the world, and we get into an explosive episode of innovation, both technological. The tool sets become amazingly sophisticated. They're still stone and bone, but they're incredibly different from anything that's gone before. The hunting strategies, such as we can gather from the remains, become much more focused, much more organized, and most important of all, our ancestors start leaving definite evidence of huge symbolic art. They're making the most incredible art. You know, when Picasso came out of Lascaux and was interviewed by journalists in 1947, he was stunned. He'd just seen the cave paintings in Lascaux, and he said, you know, I thought we were doing new things today, but we've invented nothing. Those Stone Age artists they knew every trick that I can play, and they were playing those tricks on those cave walls. So it's an episode of incredible innovation, and that's why I focused on that episode in my book Supernatural, because I think it's the single most interesting story, single most interesting moment in the evolution of human behavior. This sudden emergence, it appears to be an emergence into consciousness, and that's why it's really fascinating that when you study the cave art in detail and look at the patterns and imagery that are being presented, you realize that these guys were taking psychedelics. These guys were eating mushrooms and consuming other psychedelic plants, and that the visions that they experienced in those altered states of consciousness were what they painted on the cave walls. This has now been most thoroughly investigated and explored, and is the single most convincing explanation of cave art, that our ancestors stumbled across visionary plants, perhaps first sampling them as food items, and that it unleashed this storm of creativity, which really changed everything and set us on the path that we today are the end result of. And therefore it's ironic that our society demonizes and persecutes visionary agents, because we may be denying ourselves the next very important step in our own evolution. So I don't agree that there's no evidence of the steps on the way. I think there is evidence, and you know, the whole business of working with metals, it really requires very sophisticated thought, and this was developed in a number of ancient cultures to quite a high level. So I think the evidence of the steps on the way is there, but for me the key thing is the faculty of human creativity and our ability to learn from visionary experience. And if there was ever a society that needed to learn from visionary experience, that's our society today. And I think it is precisely visionary experience that is playing its part in this reawakening of consciousness that we're all aware of in the world today, even though the powers that be seek to make those experiences illegal. So I think this is a very important lesson for us in the future. And let's not forget, you know, the incredible explosive outburst of the 1960s. The amazing music, the computer revolution is born in that period in the 60s and 70s, again by people who were experimenting with visionary substances. So it's clear that these substances have an incredible part to play in the human story, and societies that are willing to nourish and embrace these experiences may record huge benefits from doing so. So I hope that answers your question in some way.